So, Jeff, it's Christmas time.
Well, according to all the stores, it sure is.
According to my wife, it is. Them bins are all over the house.
Man, it's coming.
You know what I call Christmas time now is creepy Black Santa season.
Creepy Black Santa.
When did Black Santas become such a thing?
Black everything is the thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Bratz dolls,
yeah, that's true.
all kind of stuff.
Right.
But, I mean, it can't for me because I got 2 granddaughters and my son's birthday both November 22nd.
So you got to put first things first.
Yeah, I gotta get past birthdays first before I get to Christmas.
And you can't combine those. Like that's not a
ain't gonna happen.
Okay.
Ain't gonna happen.
That is too far apart. That's over a month.
November, December. I was like, come on, let's. Yeah. But then right after, I got my grandson, and Christian's birthday both on November 22nd. My granddaughter's birthday is November 21st. Then I got Christmas. Then I got our anniversary is January 1st. Tiffany's birthday is January 6th.
You set yourself up for that.
So it's like, it's horrible, Doc.
You set yourself up for that, man. I mean,
after all that, I be having like $1.06 in my bank account. Straight $1.06.
Man, I'm already dreading the Christmas season, man. I mean, it just is what it is. The kids are getting older. It's not getting any easier.
They want what they want now.
Man,
we can't get them no more Okies.
Listen, I bet you I will. We're gonna get the Gabe's equivalent. Whatever you can fit in on a discount, that's what you getting. But
all right, fellas.
Yeah, man. What's up?
What's happening, y'all? How y'all doing?
Welcome to Religiously Incorrect Podcast.
Tag, share, like.
Make sure. What's up, brother K1? Good to see you. That is a production choice, by the way. That is a production choice. It's called a cold open. It's called a cold open in the production world. But hey,
K1, I didn't know that.
Yeah, come on, you the professional.
Come on,
It is going to be cold, Scott, at Austin Town Friday. We're going to be there. But you are watching, if you just tuned in and you're a little confused, Religiously Incorrect Podcast.
Brought to you by,
This guy.
Brought to you by the African American Community Fund. The African American Community Fund, established in 2020 of the Foundation for Appalachian, Ohio, supports Black-led and Black-serving organizations throughout the 32 counties of Appalachian, Ohio to elevate the quality of life and address disparities in African American communities. Please check them out at www.appalachianohio.org or give them a call at 740-753-1111.
Appreciate that. I tried to tee it up for you.
I was enjoying the conversation.
Right, you were so into the convo.
I'm in the convo.
I'm like, that's some dead space right there. Well, hey, y'all, we want to welcome to the studio our special guest tonight. I want you to give some religiously incorrect love to Coach Greg Jackson. Brother Greg Jackson is our guest tonight. Welcome, Brother Greg.
Either call him
Thanks
Greg,
for having me.
G-Dub,
Is that a name?
I don't know where
G-Money,
Dub came from.
G-Money.
Who started giving that to you? He did?
He just addressed me.
Jeff likes nicknames. Jeff likes nicknames, so you're going to get one with Pastor
G-Dub.
Jeff. He gives himself like 3 nicknames a week. Hey,
Thanks for having me.
The most awkward time I had when I was about Ethan's age is for about a year, I wanted everybody to call me TJ when I was like 9. And so I even had my mother put it on a birthday cake. And people was like, who is TJ?
So you don't like TJ?
Huh?
You don't like TJ?
I wanted people to call me TJ when I was a kid because I thought it was cooler.
Referred to you as TJ.
A lot of people do. Yeah, they say
Funny thing
Pastor TJ, Pastor T, TJ.
Funny thing is, one of my things was when I was young, I mean, it kind of grew in, but my nose is huge. And my face was a lot smaller, so I had so everybody would crack on my nose. So I just said, everybody started calling me Nose. I actually had somebody write Nose in my head. I'm like, y'all can't make fun of me if that's what I call myself.
That's a good way of coping. That's a strong coping mechanism. I think I preached about that this morning. That's social emotional intelligence. Hey, where to deflect though? That's a smart one.
Deflect it, and it worked.
But when you started carving it into your head, I mean, that's a whole new level. That's some stuff in the
y'all call me this.
Do y'all still write stuff? The kids still write stuff in their head? Man, when we were coming up, man.
Everything. The beehive joint with all
man. Nike symbols.
Hearts.
Yeah. All kind of stuff. Lightning bolts?
The lightning bolts.
Yeah, lightning bolts. And yeah, man.
We thought we was doing something, boy. Well, first things first.
Sad thing is that now they don't do none of that, and these hairdressers or barbers is
They charge more than ever to do nothing.
$300 for a haircut.
To do nothing.
I told Christian, you ain't getting no more haircuts. You just let your hair grow. I don't have an afro. I don't
Like
care.
every other
It
kid in
costs
school
too
at this
much.
point,
Right.
looking like Sideshow Bob.
They don't comb them either. It's
They don't comb 'em.
I don't know how they have concussion problems with all this hair and the helmets. I don't get it. All right, now first things first. I keep dreaming of a Saturday and a Sunday where I can watch a football game without political ads. And it's so close.
My God.
I can taste it. It's so close.
Oh my goodness.
I
Thursday.
can
Thursday
taste
night.
it. Thursday night will be
Thursday
the
night.
first game, unless you have one of them cheap local stations that still plays the ads from last month.
Keep running. I'm like, wait a minute.
But we're done. So to the polls is over. Early voting is over. There is no voting on Monday now, at least in our state, in Ohio. There's no early voting on Mondays now because now they're setting up and doing Tuesday. So for those of you that don't know, because I just got to look in the studio, a couple of years ago, as a part of our Secretary of State, Monday was eliminated as an early voting day so that the polling places could prepare and set up, supposedly, for the next day. But Tuesday is now election day.
And it was packed today.
Man, it's been packed every day.
I was literally in line for an hour and 45 minutes, man. An hour and wrapped all the way around the building. So, and remember, on Tuesday, you cannot go to the Board of Elections. You have to. You can.
I thought you could do a provisional ballot.
Provision. But if you don't have that, you have to go to.
You got to go to your polling
own
place.
polling place.
Yeah, you got to go to your polling place. You got to know where your precinct is. But you know, here's how busy, at least in our area, that the early voting has gotten. That the convenience it was intended for doesn't really exist.
Right.
The whole point was to get it out quickly, and now you're waiting in line for an hour and a half. I mean, the line has been around the building.
Around the building.
Been around the building. So
And they got people riding
Marlon's
around.
comment.
I mean, what's that?
he said Sherrod Brown needs to drop a diss track after all this. Somebody put a proposal. They need to just fight. They should just fight.
They've been owning, man. Every other commercial.
I mean, I literally saw it is. I've been dropping the word too much. I'm gonna try not to say it. But somebody was like, "Fight back, Negro!" Fight, say something back. But I want to talk from a different perspective for our first things first. And you are right, Scott. We need a little short, little graphic, a little swoosh or something to come in and out on first things first. I am already becoming reflective about what we call get out the vote efforts. I'm already becoming reflective and a little strategic because I keep saying this and I'm going to keep saying it. To me, black political efforts mirror and parallel black ministry efforts.
Okay, talk a little bit more about that.
So in my mind, black people just can't help but be black, especially black church folk who tend to be the people who are most involved in these types of efforts. We apply the same methods everywhere. And I think what we're getting is diminishing returns. So to me, there's no difference between that church that just wishes young people would come in, but keeps doing the same old thing,
Right.
and the people that wish young folk would vote and keep doing the same old thing. Because I think there's a difference between get out the vote, which is try to get people out to vote, and to recruit, as is our stated goal, newer, younger people to vote. It's become more of like preaching to the choir.
Absolutely.
To me, it's become more like preaching to the choir. And not to the choir needs preached to. There's no doubt about it. We do need to be motivated. It can get depressing. Sometimes people just need to be jolted a little bit, even if they have been regular voters. But it feels like, just like many of our churches, that a lot of our efforts, like 80% of our efforts, are around the same core group of people. And I say this very plainly, that the vast majority of most of our members would not need to be told to vote because they were part of that core folk, and almost like all the folk that would come to church every day, unless they have some real apolitical thing going on, they're going to go vote.
Right.
So in our little church, I'm very grateful that we have newness on a regular basis. We have freshness on a regular basis. I think that there are some reasons for that, and I'm just being blunt about it. And I feel like those kind of reasons and those kind of dynamics need to come into play in other spaces.
Absolutely.
And so I know that we're a bit of an outlier because all churches, white and black, quite frankly, a lot of them are kind of stuck in this little role of core people. But I'm just saying, like, what are we doing if what we keep saying is we need to get young folk out to vote, need to get unregistered voters out to vote? Like, what do you think?
I think, to get younger voters out to vote and get people out to vote, period, we have to give them a reason to vote. I think that's one of the biggest problems, is that they have no reason. They don't even know why they don't want to vote. Half of them just don't think they vote matters.
That's actually not a bad point, that they don't know why
they don't. Half of them don't even know why they don't want to vote. They just don't think they vote matters. And it's been tapped into people's heads. Black people just, especially our younger demographic, some just feel like, well, my vote don't matter. It don't matter who the president is. It don't matter who, they don't care about us.
Your boss seems to think so, though.
Absolutely.
Your white CEO of your company seems to think so.
Absolutely.
So he's right. You write $1 million checks to them campaigns.
All day long.
Yeah. What I would say is we do have to give them reasons to vote, but in a manner that makes sense to them and meets them where they're at. Because again, I'm very well aware, both of you and I are pretty traditional preachers, for instance, but we also intentionally kind of front load our sermons with more relatable content.
Right.
And then at the end, you have your traditional church Baptisty, we're going to hoop, holler, and praise God. But I know that on average, most of the 20-something, 30-something, 40-somethings that show up in my church, outside of a few exceptions, because we get a couple, very excited young people, and that's great. But they're not sitting there waiting for the preacher to tune up. You know what I mean? The only young folk that's waiting for a preacher to tune up is other young preachers that like to preach and want to hear a preacher tune up.
Right.
But they do take principles out of what I'm saying when I'm being more down to earth and jokey and this, that, and the other. And again, to me, that's applicable to, what we need to do and shift our approach. I was very proud, and I'm trying to think, Mo, please tell me who that coach was. And I don't want to put him on the spot, but I kind of do. When we had one of our coaches from the Warren Little Raiders put on Facebook, I voted for the first time. Y'all got me. I voted for the first time. And you know which one that was? Mo might know.
Was it? I'll just call him. And I'm not big on street names.
I get you. That's all right.
Was it Roscoe?
I think it was one of them. I think that might have been.
Yeah.
It wasn't Gooch.
Oh, it wasn't Gooch?
I don't believe it was Gooch.
Okay.
So, whoever it was, and we don't mind names around here, but to me, I felt like, okay, it was Gooch. Oh, it was Gooch. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought it wasn't.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, people talk to him. You know what I mean? People hit him, hit him up, and maybe those are spaces. Hit some of those spaces, like youth sports, where young parents are there, and talk about it, do a quick huddle up. I'm just thinking, like, next year, what would we do a little different next time around? Right. The trunk or treats, the community events, the giveaways, where do we meet people where they're at, and talk a little different language?
Once again, for me, I don't think we wait till next year. And obviously I am all for IVE, which is integrated voter engagement. And I think it starts now. I think we don't wait for 4 more years. Half of these people, half of this ballot, most people don't even know what that was. I mean, they're voting for the president, but when you get to,
like in Ohio, we know the president and the senator, but most of the other people, it's just signs at this point.
And I think that's where we have to tune in and get people to understand. I mean, I've said it before. Our schools have failed us in politics.
In civics.
We don't do civics they just don't do it the way they used to do it. And I think we as preachers, as ministers, as churches have to pick that slack up.
Now,
right, go ahead.
If that's the case during an off year for the elections, will you get the attraction? They may not want to hear it, and it's not important.
That's a good point. But I tell you, like, the way our system is set up, to your point, I was just talking to my wife about this, and it was already said online, local elections are often more important than national elections.
Yeah.
Well, the next election cycle is local.
Yeah.
I'm up again. A lot of us council people are up again.
Okay. And that's what I mean.
So, that conversation.
I've said it before. I mean, it absolutely amazed me when we came up here and we fed we gave away over $7,000 worth of food, from Warren Harding to where we going to the church on the west side
was
to
it TCAP?
TCAP.
Right.
And it was a church church over there by your house. I can't remember what
Grace,
church it was.
Grace Methodist.
Grace.
Yep.
And we asked, all they had to do was give us their address and their councilman. I think out of $7,000 worth of food, I think we had about 10 people who knew who their councilman was.
And that was my ward.
10 people?
I've been talking to younger people though, man, and they're tired of the mess. They tired of the mess, the lies, the slander. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when you go online to look it up, you see it's not true. Then you go to another site and you see that it is true. You know what I'm saying? It's just so much mess and so much garbage out there. That's what they're tired of.
But that's part of what was intended, to be honest, just to suppress the vote.
I agree.
Steve
but
Bannon said this phrase. He said, flood the zone. Mm-hmm. And he even used the curse word to say basically fill everything with BS so that people can't tell
what's right.
What's right. It's too much. It's literally too much. And only the most dedicated people are going to try to stick with it and filter through it.
And because you have most people who, like you said, there are a lot of people, there may be some who go out and look, but some people just going to believe it.
It's whatever's floating on. I mean, TikTok is the next thing that came up, and it's become like the floating. You're sitting there scrolling every other, especially if you start looking at them and you get more and more of them, obviously.
Right.
You get more of the conspiracy stuff and all of that. You said a phrase, and I'm glad you said it, Big Mike. You said, I've been talking to the young folk. To be honest, and you're not that old, but that's all I ever hear.
Oh, I'm old.
From different people. He'll be old. And again, go back to church. I've been talking to the young folk, and they say, sometimes I'm like dubious, like, were you really? And how did they perceive that conversation? Because young folk, sometimes out of politeness, will have a certain kind of conversation with an elder or an older person or a person with a position that they would not have if that person wasn't in the room. And so if 75-year-old church mother says, I was talking to the guys at Arby's about why they don't vote, and you know, they told me they care, but get them in the room away from that lady.
And it's a whole different
It's a whole different thing. And I'll say this, because I've had this unfortunately happen. Some people are flat out lying about who they're reaching out to. Or they use anecdotal one person's opinion to represent the entire community. And because they talked to two of their whacked out weed head nephews and they said something crazy at their kitchen table, this is how young folk think. And they kind of take away their intelligence. Because sometimes, you know how TV news people always find like the worst possible person they interview in the hood? It's like, what, you know what that's about?
Yo!
Nobody got time for that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Hide your wife, hide your kids. So what I'm saying is we do that sometimes. We take the most extreme, crazy opinions. And sometimes older folk, and that's the bad thing, we talk about young folk in social media, but old folk in social media.
Right.
They believe everything they see. And they take these crazy posts that are practically jokes to the rest of us. They take it like to heart. Like, this is doctrine, how y'all think. Because I saw a post last night and my daughters were even just talking. I'm like, nah, that's just locker room talk. You know what I mean? That ain't even.
Well, I'm old folk.
Go ahead, old folk.
Sometimes I see the things and I say this can't be true. It just sounds like it can't be.
Yeah.
But then, you know, like you said, the younger generation take it and run with it.
Right.
And you know, I had a guy I kind of engaged with on social media that said he was against someone because of their outlook on taxes. And I didn't say it, but I wanted to say, bruh, last time I knew you weren't
you
working.
Pay taxes. You don't even pay taxes.
So come on, man.
You ain't taking out of my check I don't get.
So come on, man. What are you listening to?
So it's all about marketing then, huh?
Right.
Let me tell you, man, I am one who is big, and I think we've all said this. I don't care who you vote for, just vote. Just vote. Listen, I'm on my way home today.
Okay.
And I'm riding past Walmart, and they got this huge Trump rally out there. And from here to there are 30 Caucasians. And right in the middle of 30 Caucasians, there's
One black guy.
I want my wife. I'm like,
You want to
I
rescue
really
him?
just,
You want to rescue him?
brother. They don't like you.
They don't like you.
Why are you here?
You're in the sunken place.
And if you don't be careful, they'll show you that they don't like you.
Bro, I tell the story all the time. When I was campaigning and I was getting invited because I was running against the Democrats, so now some Republicans were, they were Newton Falls and way out in Mesopotamia and stuff. And I would say, I got to be out of here before dark, right?
Right.
Like, listen, the sun is going down. I need to get back. Let me say this real quick before we move on to what Sonia said earlier. She said the League of Women Voters puts out an information guide. And thank you for mentioning all these unopposed candidates too, Scott. But I just want to say this. I have that information guide, and we used it for our, in part, for our endorsements that started a firestorm, but nevertheless. But I'll say, honestly, that voter information guide is a newspaper style publication. It literally looks like a newspaper. And to me, if you're talking young voters, that's part of the problem. I don't read the newspaper. Nobody young I know reads the newspaper. So there has to be different ways of providing that information. We got to get into graphic design. That voter information guide, and I know that's where I come in. I know that's where younger people come in. Pay some teenagers. Take that voter information guide with those positions and pictures of candidates, turn them into TikToks.
Right.
This one's a Republican. This is what they believe in real short things. Lower taxes. This one is anti-abortion. This one is whatever they are. Whatever. Because those bundles of papers are sitting out in the hallway, actually, in this building right now. You know what I mean? Those information guides are sitting out there on the table right now. They're in the hallways of all of our churches right now. And again, it's good for some, but if the intent is to reach out, that's like saying, I got all these Bibles in this church. How come these young folk ain't reading them?
Right.
You know what I mean? They've been there for 60 years. How come they ain't coming in here and reading them? So it's a good intent that the information's there. I think it's a way we need to
Go at it a
go
different
at it a different
I
way.
literally heard somebody the other day say, yeah, man, when the young people join my church, I give them their first Bible. I'm like, yeah, okay. Most people don't even use these Bibles anymore.
You give them a phone?
Right, they got a phone.
Well, the funny thing is, I get asked that all the time, and I was literally going to tell our ministers, go ahead and steal this, ministers, in our new members class, have them pull out their phones. If they don't have one, download the Bible app and tell them the ones that
That's
you
it.
like to use.
That's
you know,
it. I
show them
actually
how to
told them
download our
that. I
website or
actually
how to
told
get
them
to
that.
our Facebook page and all that kind of stuff. But y'all, we don't want to, hit on this. We all know the world's going to end in 48 hours. So tell your families you love them. Get your torches ready. Me and Kevin Stringer were talking about what we burning down this week. Which side is burning something down? But we pray for peace. We hope everything goes well. Let's lighten the mood a little bit. Y'all know what time it is. Meme of the week.
Meme of the week. Meme of the week.
Welcome to Religiously Incorrect, ladies and gentlemen.
Meme of the week. Meme of the week.
Thank you. Send us your memes of the week.
Meme of the week. Meme of the week.
We are, these are all jokes. We are just playing.
All right, y'all. So this week's meme of the week is a trend I've been seeing. And we've all, how do I say this? I think we've all seen quite a few antics in church where the Holy Spirit's supposed to be moving and then something else happens. But it's going to a whole new level now. And I know I might take some heat for this. I don't know if I have any fans of this person that you're about to see. But he's become known for this. And there have become preachers who are becoming known for basically creating viral moments and just doing and saying stuff that it's going to end up on a website at this point. So spirit is high. We've gotten done with the relatable stuff. We preaching now, bro. We preaching now. Okay. The hoop is in full gear.
Full gear. Full swing.
Y'all join the revival service right now. Come on, big
Give it to him. You can't do nothing about it. Give it to him. You can't touch it. Give it to him. You can't manage it. Give it to him. You can't fix it. Give it to him.
You're going to have to pick back up, put some gain in these monitors. Y'all know what gain is? That's not volume, gain. We're paying too much to not hear ourselves up here. What you hear back there is not what we're hearing up here. 2, I'm being a good bishop If your car is parked in the roundabout, it's about to get towed.
He interrupted the service for this?
If you took privilege to park your car in a place where it is not a parking space, come out of the Holy Ghost for a minute.
What?
The Holy Ghost is an intelligent person. You jumping, shouting, and then say your car got stolen. The police are being nice. They said, Bishop, can you announce it before we move it? Don't wait out of embarrassment. Just walk out and move your car. Look at your neighbor and tell them, save your car. Now, whatever you need, Lord, he got it. Whatever you need, God got it. Whatever you need, God.
Well, come on.
He just put that back up. Actually, like the dude. The dude can go.
But what are we doing though now at this point?
Don't get me wrong. It was crazy.
What are we doing now?
It was crazy.
And
literally, it seemed like he was on his last point, his last leg.
Oh,
he should have been done in probably about 2 more minutes.
Who's gonna get their car towed in the next 5 minutes?
Right. You could just let that slide.
And by the way,
Right, Tasha. Wow, he jumped right back into
right back into
That's what I
exactly.
said.
That was kind of smooth, though.
It was smooth.
Whatever.
But come on, man. The Holy Ghost is somewhere saying ninja. I didn't say that. But to me, listen to the phrases that are said. And yeah, I am dissecting it. Come out the Holy Ghost for a minute.
Yeah.
Come back in the Holy Ghost. I mean, this.
And that's something a young person that's on the fence about
There it
going to
is.
church.
There it is.
See that and say, man, I ain't going to church.
I know he has
I can
my
sit at
name,
home.
Alicia. I know he has my name, Sister Salter, and I don't claim him.
And if they see that, the first thing they say, oh man, they playing church. They just want your money.
And how do you not think that? Again, if you are not ingrained, like you said, in the church. And I've been one to say that everything that is excitable, we are really in celebration. It's not always, well, the holy angels picked me up and made me jump and shout. I get that. And so there is some stopping and starting in some people. I understand that. But to be so blatant about it, so petty about it. Have you ever had, I know I've had it. Have you ever had something interrupt your sermon? Something goes wrong, a mic goes out. I mean, and you're in the middle of it. I've had my battery die on me.
Oh, absolutely.
You're already out of your flow and embarrassed, and then people start rebuking the devil. Whenever the mic goes out.
Grace will interrupt my joint as necessary.
In a minute,
Grace will interrupt my joint.
But there have been times where maybe you can smooth it out, but other times you're just like, all right, let me just calm it down and finish the sermon out. Something really kind of interrupted it. But to do that purposely in a way where, and again, I know that this person is a very well-known person who,
Marlon, I would say no.
I would say no.
No.
I don't think, unless there was an emergency in the church.
Right.
And there would be no reason to go back into it as if nothing happened. There should be a shift in the tone. I've been in a service where there's been emergencies.
Oh, yeah.
And we are not going back to, okay, they carried him out on a stretcher. Everybody.
That was kind of smooth, though.
It was, but maybe that's the danger, is that we can so smoothly do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on, y'all.
Pick back up right there. It's just.
I mean, it's something. So this is where we're at.
Just so you know, Pastor, if you rebuke me like that because the gain ain't too high,
You out.
I'm going to quietly walk out.
Listen. But listen, and I wouldn't, and that's become the new thing for those of you who haven't seen it, is bashing the sound man or the musicians publicly. That's become like a new thing. They got, what was that one clown, the Brian Carn dude?
Oh, yeah.
Throwing towels at the musicians. And
I saw that.
What are you doing?
What
Literally
you
yelling at them, what are you doing? That's not even the right song and stuff like that. I mean, come on. Yeah, the bishop should be rebuked. Scott said you aren't allowed to park in the roundabout.
Obviously not. They're
That's
about
for
to
the
get
bishop
told.
only. The bishop's limo only is allowed. Said, tell your neighbor, save your car is getting towed. If you got a meme, well, let's give credit. This meme came via Marlon Reed. Thank you so much. We don't always play submissions. I know we got one from Scott. I got to take a good look at it. But thank y'all for sending that in. That was a good one. Brother Smith, I'm with you, man. I have a hard time with some of these guys. And and there's like a church culture. It's like a super churchy culture that looks for that. They look for super churchy church. And it's really disturbing because there's a lot of people our age. They're like the new church elite.
Right.
And they can they're the people that do videos of themselves shouting in Walmart.
Right.
That is those people.
The ones who do the video of you pulling into the church.
The behind the scenes
getting
videos.
Out the church,
like,
getting out the car.
I got my son following my car down the driveway.
Video.
And I'm getting out while the car's still moving and all that stuff. Yeah.
Marlon said, finally.
Thank you. Well, if you have a meme, you know what to do. Man, get out of here, Mo. Mo is like... Mo's like the martyr of religiously incorrect, man. Send it to us, religiouslyincorrectpodcast@gmail.com. We've talked enough foolishness. Let's turn our attention to our subject for the night.
Sponsors.
Oh yeah, we got some sponsors, y'all. We want to thank Phillips Care Lawn Services for being one of our sponsors. They've been in business for well over a decade. You know you got them leaves you ain't got up. I know because I got mine. Why don't you give them a call? Your back ain't good anyway. Fernando will take care of you, 330-219-7916. And when it starts to snow, he'll take care of your driveway, your sidewalks, your porches, and all that good thing. Check out Phillips Care Lawn Services. And while you're at it, check out Phillips Care Cleaning Services. Don't waste your time trying to clean out your house, clean your carpet, move in, move out. Let them do it. 330-219-7916 or check out Phillips Care LLC on Facebook. Planning the perfect event? Look no further. At Annex Events, we've got everything you need to make your event unforgettable. From stunning tents, comfy chairs, and all the extras, we've got you covered. Super Bowl parties, graduation parties, corporate events, and of course, church banquets and anniversaries. We cater to all, plus our friendly team will handle the setup and breakdown so you can relax and enjoy the day. Call Annex Events and let's make your next celebration a hit. Mention the Religiously Incorrect podcast and receive 10% off your first rental. Call 330-979-2909 or visit annexevents.com.
Can I just say this before we go any further?
Yeah.
Leaves are the devil.
Leaves are the devil.
They are the devil.
Yeah.
I live in Twinsburg, and they rake the leaves to the curb, and the city comes by and sucks them up.
Just piles of leaves.
Wow.
They rake them to the curb.
I'm moving.
And the city comes by.
Dude, that is the idea.
Do y'all need a councilman?
You don't
That
have
is a
to.
great
you don't have
idea.
to bag them. You just get them
Break
to the
'em out
curb
there.
Oh,
on a
that's
certain
what's up.
day. They come by and.
Listen, we try to do that in Warren. It'd be a little dude in a pickup
Yeah,
truck with a
somebody-
Dyson vacuum.
It'll be somebody in
Another
those
young,
leaves.
another
Like,
young man
it's
has been found. Another young man has been found in leaves
Yeah, it's
this morning.
clogged up. Why is it clogged up?
Another
Oh.
body has been found. Don't talk about our fair city that way.
Been looking for Ray Ray.
Man, we didn't find it until after Halloween.
After Thanksgiving.
That's cold-blooded. Well, Twinsburg already got Warren beat because they still have a Mr. Chicken.
Right.
So, and I hit, as soon as I got off the plane Wednesday, that's why I was late to Bible study. I went ahead and got me some chicken on the way home. Well, here's our subject for today. Put me in, coach.
Put me in.
Put me in, coach. For those that don't know, Coach Greg is a coach, youth coach. And I kind of want you to just tell us, how long you've been coaching, what sports, grade level. Just give us a little background on yourself.
Well, I started in the Navy. The Navy, and I was a big brother.
In the Navy.
Big brother, big
don't
brothers
do it.
and big sisters. Please don't. I was a big brother, and that's when I actually started working with youth. And it wasn't a coach. I don't want to say a life coach. I was just a big
Like a
brother
mentor, like big
to
brother.
a mentor to
Okay.
a kid, a single parent kid, and that's when I started. And then when I came home, I started coaching elementary school down at Rebecca Williams. And one day, my good friend Steve Arnold, he said, "Hey, you want to coach in high school, at the middle school?" So I started at Turner Middle School. And
That's a throwback.
That's
So
not
was
even there
Rebecca
anymore.
Williams.
Throwback.
Right. And was pretty successful with it. I had a good group of kids. My first group of kids, I still remember them. And went from there to Harding, coached baseball, umpired baseball, and being a coach is a 24/7 job.
Wow, I believe
especially in the school system. This is a 24/7 job. I remember having a tea time on a Friday, and I get a call and say, Greg, can you go to court with so-and-so tomorrow because his mother is fed up with him and she won't go. So it's 24/7. It's more than X's and O's and Friday nights, Tuesday nights, Saturday nights. It's more to it than that. It's more to it. And the most rewarding thing out of dealing with youth is when you see them years after you've been involved with them in their life, and they come up to you and give you a hug. Coach, how you doing?
Absolutely.
Right.
And how do you feel, particularly now, especially you've coached a lot of inner city, a lot of our inner city youth. Is it more difficult now with some of the parents who want to be a sideline coach?
Very. Yes. Look, my son said you have people older than me still calling me coach.
Wow.
But it's because, and this is my saying, Ethan, if you want to listen to your dad in the stands coaching you, then you can go sit in the stands with your dad.
Listen.
Wow.
Because I'm hired to do a job as your coach. Whether your parents like it, how I do it or not, I'm in charge right now.
Right.
And not being cocky about it.
I get it.
But if you're going to listen to your parents, then you can go up there and sit with them. And it's bad. It's bad.
When did you see that turn? You've been doing it long enough. Was it always?
No.
Because it used to be, I was raised in the area, they just dropped you off. The kids just got dropped off. And you were under that person's thumb.
Right.
But what they said was basically law. Right. So when did you start to see that turn?
Probably maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I'm just guessing.
After New Jack City came out.
You have some parents that you can't say anything to their kids. You can't.
Right.
And I grew up, and I'm just gonna throw some names out there, and these are my inspirations. And I'm not putting I'm just gonna say the names: Danny Smith, Nod Hines, Monk McMillan, Rich Middleton, Petey Arnold. These guys, if they said something to you, you listened.
Right.
Because they were like your parents back then.
Right.
Like you said, they drop you off. When I drop you off, he's yours.
You're in their in their care.
And it wasn't any going back to, I'm going to tell my parent. I'm going to tell my dad that because Mr. Hines he wouldn't have made it.
You wouldn't have made
it. And that's how it was. But you respected those guys and you listen to those guys.
Right. And win or lose.
Right.
It's and they could be losing too, but I think that's become such a problem, and we see it at every level. We see it with teaching, we see it with coaching, we see it with any level of authority at this point.
Right.
We have created this, the parents are coaching from the back, many of whom would not put in the time and effort. And when you said it's not all about X's and O's, I wanted to ask to a way but there are some people where it is all about X's and O's for them.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's a new generation of coach coming up that is not being the mentor figure. And I'm not putting down all young coaches or saying that we don't all have our development and growth. But like the rest of our society, you got a lot of people who haven't grown up themselves.
Right.
But this is kind of because of those names you mentioned, we want to step into these shoes and say, I'm the guy now without putting in the time and having the ethic that the person had. And so we know that that's a hero position in the community. A little bit, coach. I can't be a pastor, can't be a politician. I could be somebody's coach. Ain't got no degree to be a teacher. I could be a coach. So, but what do you do when you see even other coaches not necessarily living up to the ethic and the devotion to the children, but just kind of want to win that,
Me, I will say something to them if I know them personally.
Okay.
pull them to the side. Hey, you know, it's like this. You have to do this. You have to do that. You can't be a certain way.
Right.
Because some guys, like you said, they don't care, and it's just that way, and they don't care about the kids.
But to that end, is that a problem that we don't have? I don't even know if you want to call it qualified, but good representation of coaches now. You know, just good guys who are willing to come out there and, you know, because many of these coaches are volunteers. A lot of it are volunteers.
In the youth sports,
Right.
yeah, and eventually they'll be filtered out if they're like that, if they're bad like that. Eventually, they'll exit themselves.
Yeah. As a sports parent of two boys who are in every sport at this point, they didn't wore us out. You know, we're already 10 years deep at this point. You know, I do have an appreciation, even when I'm sitting on the sideline, don't like what I see or hear. And I will let people know respectfully if in a right way. Right. I'm not here to be the ranter. I'll be like, hey, y'all temper that a little bit, you know, this, that, the other. But the fact that their volunteers are very low pay, you know, if anything, whatever stipend they might get. And the fact that it does take a lot of time and devotion and stress. And I don't even want to know what their inboxes look like or what what their messages on their cell phones look like, or the calls they get, or the people confronting them in the parking lot after practices and games. And we see some of it, but we'll never see all of it. Just like being a pastor, you see some, but you'll never see all of it. And so I do respect. I make sure I tell the young fellas, including, we mentioned some names, it's not to pick on them. Gooch is one of them, and that was your coach this year. Gooch was his coach this year. And all of us are coming from different backgrounds. I'm the pastor in the community. You know, they come from I try to go out of my way to show that respect. I'm proud of them. And there have been times when I sat in the back like, I wouldn't did that, don't appreciate that. But I'm like, hey, they're out here.
Right.
And coaching has always been a rough endeavor.
Exactly.
There's always been swearing. For those of y'all that, you know, sitting here clutching your pearls, you know, there it is, man. Thanks for the input, Darrell. Y'all gonna have Coach cry. Hey, y'all get up in here and make Coach cry before we get out of here. But there's always been harshness. There's always been a kid, and I was one of them, that the coach would make cry. You know? Yeah. So, but a culture has changed that we can't take that. Now, I'm not going to let you just get in my boy's face and mother F da-da-da-da. But they going to say something sooner or later when they reach a certain age.
And as the kids get older, they learn to take it.
Yeah.
And the parents, but some of the parents don't take it. Yeah. But the funny thing is, I can say something to your kid, but you can say something worse.
Listen.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Listen.
It was funny because, you know, Christian never played, you know, he played with you. And I was I was happy when he played because I knew who you were. I knew what kind of coach you would be. And you were always a great coach. But, you know, and played football. And I literally just found out the reason he played football was a bet by your son.
Was it a bet?
It was a bet.
Man.
Your son bet him he would not make it the whole year.
The Saints don't gamble. The Saints don't.
And Christian is not going to lose the bet. So he went out and he played. But I
love that bet, though. That's cool.
I do. I loved it. And I'm like, Christian, this is high school. These coaches are going to scream. They're going to cuss.
Right.
You know what I mean?
He seems to be handling it well, though.
And you know, the great thing, I'm walking downstairs and they get ready to come here. This cat downstairs in the weight room, on the bike, he getting ready. He like, you know, I want to play running back next year. I'm like, do it, son.
Eli's on the PlayStation. He ain't doing eating
But, you know,
Cheerios.
Some of them need that.
Now, you are right, Mo. There are levels to harshness. And I will say that, and again, it likely always existed to a point and people had to be checked. But there definitely has to be some filter for these real young kids just getting started, barely know what they're doing, you know, don't know they left from they right. And there has been some, you know, over the top, you know, situations. But as Coach Greg said, sometimes that's coming from parents in the stands as well. Some of the stuff we hear, the expectations we have of these kids. Have you not seen at least 10, 15 absolutely boneheaded plays in college and NFL this weekend? Right before I was getting ready to take a nap, like I'm gonna watch this Packers-Lions game. Right before halftime, Jordan Love, scrambling and literally just flicks like a kid would do.
Right.
Literally like a kid would do. And he's a multi-millionaire. And I put it on Facebook not to defend my son, which I got to watch because people think you're being defensive, but I'm just saying the whole gamut. We're going to watch Will Howard sliding at the end of that Oregon game and everybody going crazy. But you would treat a 5-year-old, get out of here. Mr. Michigan.
Play till the clock runs out, son.
Right. Play to the clock, right? But I'm saying, we would cuss out a 7-year-old for doing the same thing.
Yeah.
As if a college or pro player who has had the exact same situation, So we too play a part in that. Because we're harsh all the way around.
Todd, you talked about how politics in
the church mirror
church. Oftentimes this does too.
Sports does
because
too.
it's these. You have commentators all day long,
right,
telling you what you should have done, how you should have preached, you can hear it up in the stands. I hear, I don't know why they keep on running that same play. Well, maybe that's the only play they got.
That's the only play your kid will memorize.
They sometimes, and I have to defend, and they run the certain play over and over because you can only do so much with what you have.
There it is.
That's why. And Coach, what are your feelings about the young man's father?
Yes.
Okay.
Who attacked the coach of the other team?
Right. A couple weeks ago, and I know someone. I worked with someone that was had kids on that team, and they told me about it, talked to me about it at work, and that parent was wrong. That parent was totally wrong.
Can you give context to the situation with that? We don't have to say names and all, but.
A school over in Youngstown.
Oh, it was in Youngstown. Okay.
And the coach, the kid had a problem with during the game, and the coach called him out of his name. He went and told his dad. His dad came into the coach's office after the game and assaulted the coach. Wow. Well, I mean, here you're gonna catch hands.
Listen, it's going to be an old school Raider beatdown.
Not only from the coach that you put hands on, but from the other coaches around.
You about to feel that blood D.
Right, yeah. So
it'd be blood D.
But it shouldn't have happened that way.
Hey, my brother Jordan, thanks for popping in. But you're right. And there is high emotions, and it exists everywhere. Obviously, we see it in politics. We see it, everywhere in our community. It's just a lot. And it's been said to me, by talking to coaches, especially at the high school level, the level of lack of discipline, and Alfie has spoken to this on this show, that comes from the home to the school and the sports field, that you're literally teaching the young men how to act,
right?
How to be still, how to listen to a basic instruction, and you want them to have a 40-page playbook.
Yeah.
When I can barely get you to stand in a straight line,
right,
or do your drills like you're supposed to.
Gloria just said it. I mean, it's literally these kids taking off their helmets, throwing them, and yelling and puffing, and and you can see this.
Yeah,
it's like that doesn't come from the coach. That's coming straight from home.
And go ahead.
It starts at home.
It always does.
Coming up, it starts at home. It starts, and it still starts at home.
And we have to take responsibility for that. And what Sister Sonia said earlier about watching parents who will tell a coach not to cuss their child out. And you said it cuss their child up and down. These are the same ones talking about, they hear worse at home. And my answer is always, well, why?
Yeah.
Why do they? Because, just like we used to say about whooping, and to varying degrees, I think all of us understand that while we probably still believe in corporal punishment, we all know that there's limits to the effects of it at this point. Right. Mm-hmm. So we are more picky and choosy than our parents and grandparents would have been. But the same goes for verbally, too. You keep exposing the kids to this harshness, basically from the time they can even perceive. I mean, they're hearing this stuff in the crib. They're living around this, and you want to know why they're so hardened and so blunted and so emotionally stunted. And then they need that aggression to pull something out of them. They need a man, and let's just pivot a little bit since I just said that word. And a lot of this is female aggression towards young men, their sons, but they can't handle male aggression. Can we open up this box right quick?
Yes, please.
That ultra female aggression. I'm talking about some harsh, cussing like a sailor. I'm a bad this, that, and the other. I make it happen. I do this. I do that. We got to understand and all this other stuff. And then as soon as a man comes into the picture to be the man that, by the way, that boy always needed.
Right.
That figure. That's where the defensiveness comes up.
Right.
That's where how do you handle? I mean, because you look up in the stands, bro. You can count the fathers on.
Right.
And if it ain't fathers, sometimes it's females and like grandparents.
Right.
Or uncles. So how do you deal with that dynamic where many of these young men, especially, are getting this female energy that is, by the way, props to our sisters who have to do it on their own.
Absolutely.
No doubt about it. And it is a cruel world, and you do have to go hard at your sons to try to keep them straight. But then you feel that pushback as a male coach, and you see what that young man needs, you stuff you got to say to him that only a man can say, and then here come that mama. How do you handle?
The best quote I've heard was, take the nipple. The bottle.
There it is. That's right. Go ahead and say it.
Take the nipple.
Take the boob out.
Take the nipple out
Side.
of his mouth.
Right.
Take the nipple out of his mouth and let him grow up a little bit.
Right.
You know, and you just have to sometime. You know.
Yeah. And especially what we're seeing, because I want to get into this a little bit later, the world doesn't get any easier.
Right.
And I say this all the time. That coach figure, and there aren't very many of them, might be that man in church that gets on you. I could say, pull your pants up. I could be the preacher giving you a little grief. But out of all of our, whatever you want to call judgment or harshness or whatever, it's still coming from your community and from people who love you. Once you escape this bubble, you will be around people who care nothing about your life.
Absolutely.
You will get in front of a policeman. I'm not just trying to beat down local police, but I'll say somewhere else. They pull you over, they won't care.
Right.
You'll get in a system, even if you do make it to the next level, where you're just another number. Don't make your numbers NIL, next person come in, portal, next person come in. So it's like, take this out of love, just like a whooping from your parents.
Right.
Because the rest of the world out there, and if you don't prepare them with the people that love them, what's going to happen when they get around the people that don't?
And I've heard that statement, if the teachers or the coach can't discipline you,
right,
what's going to happen when that policeman go upside your head and you can't do nothing about it?
Right.
I just want to give a big shout out to, my Little League coach, Joe Rainwright, man. This dude was literally go and talk to my parents and say, some of the dudes Jeff hanging out with ain't good for him. Jeff is a phenomenal football player. Why are y'all letting him? Bought me a bike for Christmas. When my parents couldn't take me to football practice, he wouldn't pick me up and took me to foot. That was you. You are that. You are Joe Rainwright, my Joe Rainwright, and we need those type of coaches, man. Those type who actually care about the lives of our kids, man.
Right.
I had a kid when I was working at the school, and he's walking down the hall, bad language coming out of his mouth. And his mom, I went to his mom, who worked in the school system as well. I said, hey, your son, what you telling me for? Wow. What you telling me for? What did you do about it? I said, it could have been worse. I could have took him to the office,
Right.
But I'm telling you, as his parent.
Could have snatched him up.
Right. But
and if you if you would have,
then
you didn't give him a chance.
Right.
Here it would have been, you should have came to me first.
Right.
It would have been, you should have came to me.
Yeah.
And I want to say what Tia says. This is a good thing. She said there are levels of respect because some coaches are able to speak to players without parent pushback. Relationships matter. And I agree with that to a point. And I think every profession, and coaching is included in this, that has to do with positions of power, have had to live with the changing and shifting nature of power dynamics. The idea that, though we were probably raised, and you definitely mentioned those names, I'm sure these cats were not trying to be your best friend. They probably weren't asking you, how's your mental health today? They probably weren't saying, have you taken a me day? What happens to any of that?
It's bad because of the way you fussed and hollered at me. My mental health.
Right, yeah, you did it. But what I'm saying is we have to cope with the fact that this is a different world with different expectations. I don't know where it all came from. It feels like on when we've talked about this on the show before, that there is some very real mental and emotional considerations that have always existed and we just ignored. On the other hand, there's stuff we kind of conjure up and make the reason for everything. So I can't discipline you because I'll just keep throwing, well, what about their mental health and emotional health? Well, they need compassion and love. What about the hard houses they came out of? And I'm saying there's good merit to some of that, but there's also sometimes I feel like we take a good thing and kind of really drag it out.
Run with it,
How do you deal with this new world where we do have to be concerned about mental health? We have seen student athletes, some of them harm themselves, take their lives, have mental breakdowns. You've had people have to leave sports because the pressure is too great or it just was becoming unhealthy and toxic. How do you as a coach, has there been any talk or training or just conversation between coaches or maybe from school systems to kind of address that?
Well, now there's programs that we have to take mental health. There's
Okay.
mental health videos that we have to take to learn about that. But a lot of it is just you don't have to watch a video.
Right.
You don't have to, you don't have to watch a video to understand. And you see it. There's a difference. If I see Joey over here is acting one way, Mark's acting a different way, we can tell when it's something different.
Gotcha.
You can tell when it's something different.
Gotcha.
I want to go back for a minute to what Tia said about relationships matter, because I think oftentimes we have to look at how often has these parents came to a practice? How often have the parents come to a what is the thing? Parent teachers conference,
Right.
And so if
Now,
you
do you mean with the parent or does she mean with the parent or with the child though?
well, I'm thinking. I thought she said relationships because she said
Between the coach and the player or the coach and the parent?
parents. Yeah, the coach and the
okay.
parents. That's what I looked at it as. That's what I saw that
Okay.
as. Because I mean, if you're not there, when you come for the one time you show up, you ain't been there all year.
Yeah.
The one time you show up and the coach holler, now you all of a sudden you want to get big and bad. Dude, you ain't been here.
So you don't know.
Right. You don't even know how to.
And the same.
And then she's not that one because we know what kind of parents Fernando and Tia are. Obviously, we try to keep our sponsorship.
Everybody.
Phillips Care.
Try to keep our sponsorships.
Plug.
Keep the checks coming.
We listen.
Mike was about to mute you.
Right. No, listen.
I was about to shut the
used to
whole
be
thing
at
down.
the YMCA
Right.
at 5:00 in the morning when it opened, and Fernando was already there. I'm like, how y'all getting that YMCA before it even opened?
He in there fixing it.
I'm like, what you doing?
He fixes it, then he works out.
Him and his whole family, y'all sleeping here? What's going on? It's 5:00 in the morning. They doing layups.
They
I'm
doing
like,
layups.
what's going on here? What is going on here?
See, you have some kids, the parent won't see them play in a game, or why did you only put my son in? But the parents aren't at practice, like you just said. They're not at practice. They don't see what goes on at practice, or the son may make a layup at practice. Oh, Mom, I was killing them today at practice.
Right.
And then so why isn't he starting?
Right.
Why isn't he?
My boy's big. You know he need him out there, but he's soft.
Right.
He can't take a hit.
Drugstore cotton. But it is what it is.
Well, what about those players who are skilled, who are good, but their attitude is bad? And you have a choice as a coach on whether I play this person who obviously can do a better job than somebody else, but somebody else has the better attitude. How do you
Okay, I had an incident where we were playing Kennedy, and a kid, he had 2 fouls. I said, Jeff, you got 2 fouls. Relax, chill out. The quarter is almost halftime. Relax. He picks up his 3rd foul. Take him out. I walk over to him to say, hey, man, I told you had. Get off of me in some no uncertain terms.
Right.
Oh, well, guess what? You won't play the rest of the game.
You're done.
And he was that person that you're talking about that was very good.
Right.
Right.
Very good. He didn't play the second half and we lost.
Wow.
And we talk about taking a stand and all that, but them parents up in the stands throw all that morality out the window when that score starts changing.
We want to win. We want to win.
If you don't let that little ninja dunk on them and discipline him later, that's what they think, you know, or they'll start doing that justifying, ain't that bad, they're emotional, they're passionate, they're this. I'm like, no, that's just disrespect. It's just, and you got to have some order in that. And again, everybody loves it until you actually got to do it.
Right.
I want to answer with Karen's question, and I know she's a sports mom. She was a sports mom, her and Pierre. I can tell you that in urban schools in general, in urban rec programs, coaches attempt to do that. A lot of parents don't engage like they ought to set expectations, meet expectations. When we're in rec programs or school programs, and you still can't convince the parents to not come in the parking lot and smoke weed. Like, in what world? Like, in what world? I mean, I'm not trying to be elitist or holy roller or nothing. I'm just being a man. In what, even if it's, I get society's changing, but you can't stop yourself for 90 minutes
Right.
while your child, you can't go home for a ride or whatever and come back. You got to sit up in a middle school parking lot or at a public park and blow up the spot and then get an attitude if a coach or somebody dares to say something to you.
Yeah.
And then let me take that a little. How do you feel? Because I've watched it. When you got to watch this little kid get into that car where they're all smoking weed at.
Yeah.
And Karen, to answer your question, to further answer your question, we have those meetings beginning of the season, and it's like parent-teacher conferences sometimes. They don't show up.
Need to have them at the break room.
They don't show up.
Need to have them at Madden's. Y'all need to.
Hey, let's have a drink and talk about your kids.
Hey, Patron for everybody. You know what I'm saying?
But you know, and I don't know if I should touch on this, but
Go ahead.
What's bad at the high school and even in the middle school is vaping.
Yes. Yes.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's a big problem in the middle school, and it's not just at Harding.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
My wife works in Lakewood, and it happens in Lakewood.
Let me tell you, I went to Southington from 6th to 10th grade when my parents moved out there. Most miserable years of my life, but we made it work. The real drugs are out there. You know, and we was just like, we talking like
That's when you met that comedian.
that
You
could be,
like-
I did actually. I actually did.
One they call Puerto Rico garbage.
No. Not that bum.
He's from this area.
Yeah.
But you know, weed was kind of a thing, and I'm young, obviously, so it wasn't like filtering down that young back in those days. You're talking like mid-90s, you know, 6th, 7th grade. It wasn't really in our world like that. Man, these cats like having pill parties, huffing paint. One dude, literally, these football players would do that huffing stuff with the glue, and his face, he passed out and went into like the turpentine or whatever it was, like burned his skin half off. He looked like Two-Face from Batman. I mean, like, but these are kids that got access to that stuff. They're the ones out there, and you wonder why them white kids can smash them beer cans on their head and run in the lockers and stuff. Listen, they came hyped up. Our boys out there doing swag surfing and stuff. They over here like running through brick walls because they popping pills like crazy. So again, that to the point though. That's why you can't be too hard on our community, even though we must address the ills in our community and be direct and be forthright about it. It's not just us, but we let all the stories get told about us.
Right.
Because they have a much better system of hiding and protecting Lil Becky and Lil Colin.
Under keeping it under wraps.
Under wraps.
Yeah.
Under wraps. Yeah. I want to turn attention a little bit, Coach, to the emotional, and I want to say exhibitionist nature of sports. And by that I mean, and my boy's in the room, and Lord knows he's the personality in the family. He knows it. I'm getting on him. What we've seen from pro sports down to youth sports, with the antics, the taunting, the swag, like almost like building a brand on the court. I mean, obviously AAU is playing a huge part of this, team travel ball, I should say, in these specialized leagues and tournaments. But everything from flopping to over emotional behavior on the courts and the field. LeBron behavior.
LaFlop.
You can't even do one play. You can't gain 3 yards without doing a somersault. And you can't have one setback or penalty without acting like the world is going in. Going back to like we said about parents and kids not listening, can you pinpoint a time when this really became like this hyper emotional? Because as a Steelers fan, I always go back to, and it was his downfall, Claypool. That one game was a playoff game when they were trying to drive down the field and dude was celebrating when he was supposed to be spotting the ball.
Is he still in the league?
Exactly. Exactly. I think he might be, but I'm just saying.
Think he in Miami.
Sabrina, is Chase Claypool still in the league?
He went to Chicago. They traded him to Chicago and then he ended up somewhere else.
I want to say Miami.
And you're right, SR, we are not them, and so we can't act like we can compare to them. Thank you so much for saying that, because we're not them but I'm saying this has real repercussions. We have seen teams lose games because people lose their head in the last 5 seconds and you got a personal foul penalty.
Right.
Couldn't keep your head.
Right.
Getting thrown out of games. Where did this over emotional, whether it's celebrating stuff or, fury about stuff come from?
I don't know exactly when it started, but it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad. But you have to, as a coach, a coaching staff, you have to nip it.
Okay.
You have to nip it in the bud.
And I think it needs to be nipped, especially when you down by 30 points.
Bruh.
Why are you acting like you just put this great big hit on somebody?
Man.
Dude, you're losing by 30. Shut up.
And
Even
then
if
they
you
point
score,
at the
just walk
scoreboard.
off.
Just look at the
Right.
scoreboard.
Right.
You
That's it.
dancing around. But
Now we ready to scrap.
Right.
So Claypool is with Buffalo.
Well, I ain't heard his name in
I haven't
Buffalo.
heard his name
So,
since he was at Notre Dame.
listen.
Basically, but
He had won half a season of a couple of good games with Pittsburgh, and that was it. But I'm not trying to pick on the brother, but just in general, and I'm trying to get on. There's nothing wrong with being hype and passionate. Again, this is another dynamic that sometimes comes from the community and the parents, where they are fueling. And if you try to check it or nip it, or even the ref tries to step in, and a lot of people, let's go back on this. Sometimes there's some very unfair reffing and all that.
Oh, yeah.
But a lot of times the refs have been out there warning them.
yeah.
Or they said a little
Mm-hmm.
something before the game and be like, hey, fellas, we're not going to be into all this.
Right.
I'm letting you know if you start this, I'm going to flag you.
Right.
They don't, and the kid won't come home and say, that ref gave me 3 chances.
Right. That ref.
That ref heard me say 4 or 5 things
Right.
before he threw that flag.
But that ref was cheating.
Yeah.
Which is a word I don't like to use. I never tell my players they cheated us, no matter how bad the officiating was. I don't like to use the word.
They could be sick of you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they could be.
Right.
I was just watching a video of a picture, and there was context to it. It was like a last playoff, world, college, whatever, something game. And it was a terrible pitch. Umpire, strike, game over. Mm-hmm. But somebody jumped in the comments and said, watch the whole video. And what the whole video was, this pitcher had been cutting up. And this actually happened in one of my boys' games where we had a pitcher have a meltdown. Mm-hmm. And the umpire's fed up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they have a right. They're human too.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, well, throw the game but there is kind of a tension that people don't know about that happens on the field between refs, coaches, players. Yeah. You keep doing that, you are going to get every pass interference penalty. You keep it up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of these NFL teams, man, dude, it's like you practice this dance
more than you practice.
More than you practice the whole play. Yeah. You get this one touchdown, y'all done bowled the ball.
They did Gilligan's
Everybody
Island.
fell over. Hey, y'all done a whole TikTok dance.
They doing a Tamia line dance.
They get a turnover. They get a turnover on defense, and everybody got to run to the end zone.
And they wonder why they gassed on the next play.
Why?
Right.
He said they was out there.
Turn, spin, 3 steps. But I watch our kids do it, and I'm like, bruh, none of y'all are that good. Half of your shots are luck. What are you doing? You know what I mean? Yeah. What are you doing? But again, I saw a scene last year with my boy, and they came up short in the last minute in the little basketball league that Keelan runs. And I'm so proud that we provide these. But the closer the game got, the more toxic the atmosphere got amongst the parents, to where it was too much for their own kids. And at this point, I was watching my own son. Don't mean to embarrass him, but even our other sons, they're welling up because they're overwhelmed by the atmosphere we've created. And in the last 2 minutes of the most important game that they already care about, they're going to brag about, they're going to cry about, they're going to tell, we've made it unbearable for them to even focus.
Okay, you call it atmosphere. I call it pressure.
Oh, okay.
That they put on these kids.
Yeah.
Pressure. Do you feel pressured?
Yeah.
The pressure to perform.
Especially if you're the scorer or one of the better.
Right.
They've been leaning on you the whole.
Right. And then you miss that last shot. And then it's,
And you hear it, and so I just feel like and I remember, 'cause I was kind of like the bench parent, so to speak. I was just like the bench parent, just kind of helping out. And I was even telling the coach, all right, I mean, are you reading the room right now? Because right now, these kids can't execute nothing you're saying at all, because you hype. I mean, they're literally on the court, and I've seen this stuff on these videos, and I've watched it live. They're up on the court, going crazy. And I'm like, these kids gotta go to school in the morning.
Right.
Like, that's what I'm thinking at this point. They got social studies in about 8 hours. And y'all over here. And so it disturbs me, because I feel like, and again, it's all communities where we act like this is a life and death endeavor. We about to murder the coach, murder the ref, fight the other team, get on our kids, and all of that. And I just feel like we have to draw back. You have to draw back a little bit.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Big Mike.
It seems like all the leagues now are having problems hiring referees. But the referees was always getting cussed at. They was always the bad guys. So what changed? I mean, is it that much worse now that they don't want to do it?
It's probably, KJ, chime in. I think it's, they feel they don't have to put up with some of the stuff that they do put up with.
Yeah.
And the older referees handled it differently than the newer referees. So the younger referees, I would say, man, I don't have to listen to that. I don't have to put up with that.
Okay.
And that's probably,
they'll fight you.
Yeah, I mean, because
oh yeah.
The rest was always the bad guys. They was always getting cussed at and told they made bad calls.
Oh yeah,
right. You need glasses and stuff like that. So I just wonder what changed.
Society has softened up. Dave Chappelle was right. We're brittle. We're a little bit more brittle than we were on every side, and at the same time, we're all more opinionated and loud in a different way. And I think social media has added to. We just gotten real bold. You'd only talk like that if you really could fight.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now you'll say crazy and this dude charges you, pull your phone out. I'm live. He's chasing you in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And Sister Sonya, don't be sad, because I had my incident. I got put out.
I couldn't see you getting put out, Sonya. I was going to comment on that. I can't even see you.
I can see it.
Yeah, lack of coaches.
And never played a sport.
Referees applying for the job. Yeah.
Can I ask you this, man? And I just need to know from a fellow Navy person. How,
Navy.
Don't do it. You gonna stop it. You gonna stop it there.
You about to get jumped, man.
And I want to go back. Just put a pin there.
Go ahead.
That he said cussing like sailors. Why couldn't they be cussing like airmen or soldiers?
I didn't make the rules, man. I didn't make the rules.
Like airmen or soldiers.
Exactly.
Okay.
I didn't make the rules,
so
man.
Go ahead.
Just with this whole, since the whole Colin Kaepernick thing came, and I think, for me, I often feel obligated, when they, do any of it. How do you feel? I feel oftentimes conflicted because of the color of my skin.
You mean from the veteran's perspective?
From the veteran's perspective.
I get you, okay.
From the color of my skin,
About
too.
the flag?
About the flag, about all of it. I do.
Not too much on the airmen.
But when all of that was going on, I was one of the ones saying, it's not about the flag. that he's kneeling. I said, I'm a veteran, and it's not about the flag. It's about the social injustice that's going on. And that's just his way of protesting what's going on. But you want to take it that way
in another direction
because you want to turn a blind eye to the social injustice and say, oh, it's because of the flag.
Right.
And it's not. It's not because of the flag.
Yeah, that was people hijacking the narrative. And unfortunately,
People in the
they will do it every time.
and verbally abuse the kids, and they ain't never played. Sport in their lives. Yeah.
And I don't want to be, you know, and I that was kind of on the tip of my tongue earlier. I never played sport. I didn't play sports past 6th grade. I mean, I just got into the music. And my brothers were jocks, you know. I had a brother who played.
I kind of, excuse me, but I kind of gave you a pass today when you said, you know, your asthma, because I was talking about how good of an athlete Elias was.
Uh-huh.
And they said, did Todd ever play sports? I said, he had asthma, man.
That's what I tell people now. I mean, I didn't really play past 6th grade. I just did direct league stuff, and then, you know, it just never was my thing. But that's one of the reasons why everybody's a little older and wiser if you do pay attention to sports. So you do see things and you can see whatever. Mm-hmm. But again, and I didn't want to say it derogatory, but there are a lot of people who did play or claim they played, and they make up whole legends about themselves and qualifications about themselves. And they were at the back of the bench their whole life.
Right.
And they're living out some fantasy vicariously through their kids or through somebody else's kid. Yes, and let me show you how it was, how hard it was, And again, not being a sports guy, I had a sports brother who played all the way through track, football, weightlifting, all that. And I noticed, like, to watch somebody put in the work, a bunch of people not put in the work but have a whole lot to say after the fact, you know, or tell stories around folk that wouldn't know any different unless you were on the squad with them.
Absolutely.
It's like, how y'all listening to this cat? Because they look way tougher now as a grown man with a beard than they ever did.
Well, let me tell you, Todd may not have played sports, but he is very competitive.
I'm a competitive
He is very competitive. As a matter of fact, we had a men's fish fry.
Yes.
And we had a sack race. We had a race in a sack.
Yes.
And I was beating him, and he cheated me.
I didn't cheat you, man.
You ask your daddy. Your daddy was there. Your daddy was
Dad
there.
would take my side every time.
Like on,
He pushed me
what
down.
movie was that with Richard Pryor and Sidney Poitier and Bill Cosby? They pushed him with Harry Belafonte.
He
pushed him out
tripped
the
me
way.
somehow.
We even played some basketball at Wide with at Agape and stuff back in the day. And I mean, you know, and being competitive, that's why I don't play. Because I'll forget that, and my breathing's not that bad now, but when I get out there, I'll forget that I need, you know, to temper myself. That's why I don't play, because I'll be on the floor somewhere. You know, when my mom calling my wife calling my mom, and everybody's mad at me now. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dynamics that go in the coaching, and I want you guys last few minutes to ask any questions you might have. I want to thank you for being on, because you've given us a lot of insight. Any sports or ages that at this point in your life, you're like, I'm through with? Like sports or maybe ages that you're like, yeah, I wouldn't even want to touch that now.
Well, I did Little League baseball a couple years ago.
Okay.
And year before last, and I was, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
And basketball even, you know, I mean, KJ is older than me, but we're getting to that age where it's time for the young guys. They can have it, you know, because the culture is totally different.
Wow.
It's different. The kids are different.
Now, I've made the argument, and this does come from observation, and again, giving much respect to the younger brothers who've come up. They've got their own challenges, their own issues that pop up. But I've come to the argument that we actually need the older set to take on, and I would argue at the younger ages to set the standard.
To get them ready.
That if you had your age, your generation, UKJ, the Andres of the world, the Tims, literally starting with, and I know you don't want to, because there's a respect level, and maybe you can tell us that dynamic too about what you feel you deserve to coach at what level. You know what I mean? And I understand that because you have put in time, and so why give you the peewees, for instance? But honestly, I feel like that's a culture setting age. If you set that culture, let's say Lil Raiders, and it's no disrespect to the young young bulls that are out there doing it. But what if that more settled figure was at that age, providing that as opposed to sometimes that more fiery,
right, and
slightly unfocused figure pushing on those kids.
Been talked, I've had that discussion, and you understand it, I understand it, and exactly what you're saying to mold that group. There was a time a few years ago, I don't know, it's been 7, 8 years, maybe 10. I had a freshman team and they weren't allowed to answer yes or no. It was yes, sir, no, sir. And I asked the head coach about it. Hey, do you mind if he was like, that's a great idea. And it was because of the type of kids that we had.
Right.
And it changed them. And it so yeah, different. I guess I'm the guy for the young kids.
Well, I feel like that's a dynamic that when we talk about shifting culture, and this is a challenge to all of the parents, that we all want better when we see less than excellence on the field. We see these things, but the work you have to put in to build and rebuild the type of culture that can create the excellence that we often envy in other programs, by the way, that comes from support. I heard Coach Matty say, hey, you go to these other schools, boosters, and they got thousands of people on the Boosters Club, and we got like 52 folk that pay $15 in the entire city of Warren, But also, would you let your child be subjected to a more disciplined atmosphere that would make them that better player and, more importantly, better person? Or will you be, even if you try to do everything right, because of your own, as parents and adults, lack of self-discipline and morals and values, be the first one bucking up against the system? Why he got to say yes, sir, to you? You ain't God. I don't even make him say that to his own. Well, why don't you? Number one. But I'm just saying, there's a work that we all have to put in to create the better culture. And what I see time and time again is that when it's time to put in that work, when it's time to be timely, when it's time to obey the rules, when it's time to make sure your kid is in the right uniform, when it's time to go by the standards, that's when we push back and it all falls apart. And even when we have those type of efforts you just talked about, they often don't last. And I wish they would, but that's again a home thing.
Right. But as a parent, it's hard if you don't understand to see someone get on your child. Right. But if you understand it as a coach, I've even, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, had words with another coach about my son. That we were on staff together, good friends. And I had to realize, hey, you were wrong. But it was the situation. It was a bad day for him. It was a bad day. He had lost his great-grandmother, things like
it's just one of them tense days.
Some slack. But parents have to understand to a certain extent. And I did. So it happens.
I get it.
Parents, KJ saying our standards are still the same.
Right.
Especially when the community has changed. Right. It's still a more participation trophy goal as opposed to you earn your play time. Yeah.
And we've talked about that in a larger social sense, that all of us feel like we just want to have a continual party sometimes and everything should just be this, but it's not. Like, you win, you lose. Some people start, some people don't. Especially games like football and stuff. Actually, any sport, to be honest, it's a team sport. There are folk at the NFL level that never see the field, basically.
Right. But is there a shift happening now? When we were growing up, man, any day of the week, you go outside, you see somebody playing football.
Oh, that's, man.
It wasn't, I mean, you ain't even need a football. Aluminum foil, throw it rough and tumble.
Right.
You ain't seen people racing pole to pole. Right. You know what I mean? You've seen the basketball courts full.
Yeah.
Baseball, cats outside, rocks and sticks.
Stickball, bro. You find an old waterlogged baseball.
Yeah.
Now, you know where you will see, you may today see things full.
Over Todd's house.
Besides my house.
Or if you can look online and see how many people are, hey man, we playing Madden, we playing the game.
That's it.
We go get on the game at 12 o'clock and then boom, and they come together and play. That's what that is now.
That's the community.
That's what it is.
That's where community is.
Right.
But I mean, and that's been one of the big downfalls when you do, for those who are parents out there, when you talk about the kids not being able to pick up the game and all that, is because we were drawing plays in the dirt
Right.
when we were 9 and 10 years old. We were, and even when we had video games, because video games were coming along in my generation, we were trying to go outside and emulate, you know,
Right,
these
on the
plays
plays,
on, you know, the sweeps and this, that, and the other.
Now
and
it's-
my boys are a perfect example. Now, thankfully, there are times when the crew will roll up. These cats come on their bikes, all good young men. They come from wherever, and they're out just playing for a while. We throwing them waters and stuff. And to me, it's like nostalgia.
Right.
Because I'm like, and again, not being a super sports guy, but as a kid, obviously, I'm out playing with everybody else, just like drinking out the hose.
That's what I was about to say.
Playing-
Kids would never
What
know
is
about drinking out
Gatorade?
the hose.
There was no Gatorade.
They don't understand.
There were
that.
no armbands and towels and all this stuff. It was just drinking out the hose at a ball basketball, you know, lumpy gravel, whatever. And that was just fun. Where we going? Literally, it was like, you get called in to eat. Well, after you eat, can you come over to the house? We're going to play football in the backyard. And so the thing is, these kids are not used to playing, but also they're not used to being touched.
Right.
And I mean in a sports manner.
Right.
They're not used
Right.
to just the jostling and the pushing.
Can you imagine 20 people?
And listen, and one
You
ball,
thought
and one ball. Listen.
You got to run from 20 people. I mean, it was fun though.
Listen, I
That
even
was
scored.
fun.
I even scored and juked my own brother. You couldn't tell me nothing that day.
Rough and tumble.
I put Scott on his butt one day at Burbank Park, and for the rest of the month, you couldn't tell me nothing. I juked my brother out. All his friends were like, oh, you know, you live for that pride. But I also went home crying many a day.
Absolutely.
And came back the next day.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I was the one hurt real quick. Like I'm the first one to get hit and I'm on the side, you know. But I come back the next day because I was always the little guy. But I'm just saying, like, that's why you see that aggression sometimes, because these boys are not used to getting hit.
Yeah.
We played football, like you said, without pads.
Yep.
So I'm trying to convince
Street.
even my wife, like, lice is fine. I mean, they get hurt, but I'm like,
all right.
pads have a purpose.
Right.
And honestly, most of those kids at most levels, they're all kind of about the same. Some are more disciplined than others, but they ain't out here like just, you know, what's my killer, like, you know, Ray Lewis and people out here. You know what I mean? You know, they ain't like just another sixth grader, just Ray Lewis and everybody, unless they like a super,
Right,
you know.
right.
But most of them are kind of, you watch them, they do all this tough stuff, then they barely tackling each other or pulling at the legs. So, but they're not used to it. They jump up, get off me. I can't believe you actually hit me. You know, like
They go right back.
they go right back. Yeah.
But what they do know is that when you hit somebody, it's time to fight.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It's time to
That's what
fight.
they-
Yeah,
you know.
because pull out my gun if I have to. I mean, Big Mike, anything you want to close out with?
What sports did you play growing up?
I played
Pickleball,
baseball. I played baseball. I played little league football, and back then I had to do one of two things. I always had to run before the game to make the weight, or I had to play up. And I did play up because of my weight.
Okay.
You know, and I played basketball.
Okay.
Played at Western Reserve,
That's
Warren
what's up.
Western Reserve.
Warren Western Reserve.
Yes,
Did you put the
sir.
trash bag on to make the weight?
Yeah, all of that. Then after
Trash
that,
bag
you run and lose a pound or two, and then they want to give you a Hershey bar at the end.
Oh, is that right?
Get your energy back up.
They would make me stand on my hands because the blood, whatever, somehow standing on your hands made you lose.
This is all illegal.
You had to be.
This is-
Yeah, it had to be 120. Had to get that
This is
120.
hood science.
Make the weight. Make the
Make
weight.
the weight.
The Hood Health Clinic told you to stand on your head
I
to
don't
make
know what
weight.
I don't know what it done, but
Weight.
Man, I love it. I love it.
And I was just talking, and I'm not gonna say any names, but it's funny how kids back in the day in middle school, you used to hear about this kid. Oh man, he was all this, he was all that. He just running up and down the field. Well, I just heard somebody post about his birthday. Well, shoot, he was 2 years older than all of us.
Right.
And I'm like, no wonder he was all that in junior high school.
Right.
Driving
This cat's
to school.
17 with a beard running over sixth graders.
my boy Craig just called me the other day talking about, man, you know we was harder than y'all. I was like, man, punk rock was 33 years old.
These kids was coming to the game. They were on the team with him like Braun and Bronny.
They driving to school.
Right.
Middle school.
Middle school. Man, it's so good. Well, y'all give it up for Coach Greg, man. He's been a great guest. Put them hands up on there. We really appreciate you coming to share with us. Keep my seat warm. Guess I couldn't make it, man. Mo is just. We got to do an election wrap up with Mo.
I was looking for your name, your signature on the wall. I had to put my glasses on. Maybe if I put my glasses on, I can find.
Mo's the guest next week.
Mo too busy in her red dress, in a red dress. Mo too busy in her red dress.
Posting on the gram.
Right, posting on the gram.
Beyond her years.
Post that on sugardaddy.com. Because I know the old heads are like,
you said right.
Right. Oh, man. But it's all good. Jeff, any final thoughts?
Man, just a great show, man. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for your service as well as for your service with our children,
You
man.
as well. And I was shocked yesterday when my wife said, the pastor called you? I'm like, for what? He said he wants you to be on his podcast. I said, me?
Yeah, man.
And I was... Okay.
You got it. We're going to get the whole crew on eventually.
And I really appreciate. I enjoyed this, and it was great. It was great.
No, we love
Thanks
it.
for coming, man.
We love it,
Appreciate
man. We love the perspective.
Now, do I get to sign the wall?
Yeah, man. Yeah, we going to sign the wall, take pictures, do all that.
So-
See, if I don't get to sign the walls,
Oh, no, man. No, you got it.
moving up in here. Wait a minute. I want
Not to be a problem.
You'll
Next
be on
time-
the Facebook page, the Instagram page, the
Right.
TikTok. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'll be
we
on
got
there.
you, man.
Next
We
time you
got
bring some Mr. Chicken when you come. That's all I got to
Right,
say.
right.
That's all I got to say. But y'all, this has been a great time. And I just want to say, Greg is a proud member of Second Baptist Church. We love him. He's a great brother. I joked before the show I was going to talk to him about coaching the ushers and how good he does with that. Is it worse coaching ushers or kids?
Some of them worse than the parents.
But he does a great job. And for those that don't know, he's a newlywed as well.
Officially
Yes,
a
he
follower.
is.
That's his beautiful wife, by the way. You want to introduce us to your wife?
No.
Oh!
She's gonna say, honey, no.
Right.
Spooner Jackson, that's my wife, Sabrina.
Yeah, we're really grateful to do
Sabrina,
that ceremony. They're two lovely people.
We got a new follower now. We got a new follower.
And we got a new follower.
Awesome.
Follower.
All
She
right.
knows the ins and outs of being a parent and
Yes.
the coaches getting on them and all of that.
And now she's a coach's wife.
Yeah, she knows. She knows.
Listen, real quickly before we close, if you have not voted,
Vote.
please make sure
Please
you get
vote.
out there and vote.
Please
man.
vote.
RFK
That's
2024.
Please vote.
Jill Stein. No, get out there, get to the polls, go to your polling place. We know what to do and pray in the meantime. So, hey, Junior, good
Thank
to
you,
see
Greg.
you, man.
Thank you.
Listen, y'all, you know what to do. Follow us, like us. If you haven't liked or followed the page on Facebook, make sure you do it. And make sure you tune in next week for another fire episode. I'm sure we're going to have plenty to talk about after this election. We might have a results. We might have a map up here to talk about.
Hey, your son was an airman, huh?
He is a staff sergeant right now.
Okay.
Air
In
Force?
the Air Force.
Oh,
Yeah.
so he got to drive to the child hall. He ain't had to march with everybody else.
Yeah, they probably
That's how
had
done
it. Yeah,
that's how they
had
done
it.
That's how
They
they
door
done.
That's hilarious. They picked him up and carried him to the hall.
We walking it. They already in there eating and stuff.
That's hilarious.
Steak and lobster.
Oh man,
Hey, we gotta have an all military show one day,
still
man.
hear the snow crunching under my feet.
Right,
walking,
right,
You know
right.
that first morning, I'm like,
And I'm like,
what
and
have
they
I
just
got
they just
myself
riding
into?
past us. I'm like, golly.
Technical
Oh, I'm
song.
sorry,
Technical,
technical.
listen.
Get it right. Get it right.
Get it right. Love it.
Hey, no matter what sergeant you are, airman, whatever, I'm proud of you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Right.
That's
Glory
beautiful.
to God.
With
That's
that,
beautiful.
make sure you check us next week, same bat time, same bat channel, 8 o'clock, Sunday night service at Religiously Incorrect Podcast. Peace out.
Peace, y'all.